It's Wednesday, March 27. In the headlines, Finance Minister defends $1.3 trillion national budget. In business news, a report on Jamaica's stock market. Regionally, Barbados' quest for reparations continues. And in sports, CWI Rising Stars Regional Under-15 Championship. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Finance and Public Service Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke is defending the proposed $1.3 trillion budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, which starts in April. While closing the budget debate in Parliament on Tuesday afternoon, he responded to the opposition leader's rebuttal to the coming $20,000 reverse tax credit and the pending $1.7 million income tax threshold.
The words in my speech make it abundantly clear that the intention of the government is that the reverse income tax credit is a fiscal response to prevailing social and economic conditions, particularly for those on the lower end of the income threshold.
Opposition leader Mark Golding described the threshold increase as inadequate. Here is Dr. Clarke's response.
The opposition leader spoke for 2 hours and not one word about how he would fund an increase in the income tax threshold that cost over $45 billion. It seems to be the case, Madam Speaker, it seemed to me and to a reasonable person that this was a cynical ploy to get the attention of Jamaicans without any idea about how to sustainably finance it.
He accused the opposition of flip-flopping on several issues, including the increase in salaries for parliamentarians. The finance minister says the budget debate, which published work being done in government departments and outlines plans for the upcoming fiscal year, was a spirited one. An Auditor General's report shows that the Tax Administration Jamaica has spent $371.8 million of taxpayers' money to lease 2 properties over a 3-year period, but did not occupy the buildings up to August 31 last year. Reports are that TAJ was seeking a property to relocate its tax office in St. Mary. One of the properties in question, a commercial building, was rented to TAJ for approximately $700,000 per month. It was also alleged that the building was not yet occupied by the TAJ, although approximately 8 months' rent had been paid and renovation or retrofitting works were yet to commence. Based on the allegations, the Auditor General's Department sought to assess whether there were breaches in the TAJ's policies and procedures as well as Government of Jamaica guidelines. During the audit, the department determined that the information received in the allegations were true. In addition, the Auditor General's Department reported that the TAJ is also yet to occupy a property leased in Greenvale, Manchester, although it spent a total of $356.8 million over the past 3 years. The report was tabled in Parliament on Tuesday after being held by Speaker of the House, Juliet Holness, for approximately 2 months. She explained her decision.
And additionally, seek to further resolve the issues as it relates to the appropriate mechanism to table said reports, and will include, in addition to continued consultation, having a meeting, a discussion with the Auditor General, hopefully later this week.
She says her decisions were made with her legal role as Speaker of the House in mind.
Any action taken by me was and will always be done with the sole intention of upholding the laws of Jamaica, as I am sworn to do. Having considered all of what has been said, I have taken note of the varying different legal perspective, and I continue to hold the view that in law, there continues to be a dissonance in the interpretation of how the reports on public bodies should be tabled.
The education assistance component of the Poor Relief Department is to be expanded. This from Minister of Local Government and Community Development, Desmond McKenzie. Speaking at an awards and recognition ceremony in Boone Hall, St. Andrew, Minister McKenzie said details on the changes to the education program and the overall Poor Relief Department will be outlined during his sectoral debate presentation, and that he would also be making a personal contribution to the top 3 performers this year.
I don't want to speak about it now, but one thing I am prepared to say, that for the top 3 performers this year, I will be making a personal contribution. For the top performer, I'll be making $100,000 available. To the second, $75,000. And to the third, $50,000. Let us not fool ourselves. If we want to rescue and to continue to pursue Jamaica as a country that cares, then we must invest and encourage and develop the roots of Jamaica.
The National Works Agency, NWA, has launched its public awareness campaign dubbed Do Road. The initiative aims to raise awareness about its various projects and programs to enhance infrastructure development island-wide. Communication and Customer Services Manager at the NWA, Stephen Shaw, says the National Works Agency is more than just a road agency. He says, quote, "We are catalysts for progress." He says the Do Road campaign will also emphasize the importance of citizen participation in preserving NWA projects and infrastructure. He listed overweight vehicles, improper garbage disposal, illegal burning, and the misuse of heavy equipment as several negative practices. In the business report, entrepreneurs are being reminded that the consumption tax for the month of February are due on Thursday, March 28, to include GCT, SCT, TCT, and GART. A statement from the TAJ says, quote, "This is in keeping with the requirement for these taxpayers to make their monthly consumption tax returns and payments on the last working day of the month after the end of the taxable period." End quote. Therefore, consumption taxes filed and paid after the last working day of the month will be considered late and the necessary penalties and interest charges applied. Business persons are reminded that they have a suite of online payment options at their fingertips, which includes the TAJ Direct Funds Transfer process for business-related tax payments. These are in addition to customers being able to make payments via the tax authority's website at www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. In regional business, the Central Bank of the Bahamas says it will be introducing further reforms which will relax exchange-controlled administration on certain current, mostly trade-related and capital investment-related transactions. The move will take effect on April 1. RJR News reports that the Central Bank of the Bahamas said the decision was taken after consultation with the Minister of Finance and that measures impacting the investment currency market will take effect on June 1. Minister of Energy and Energy Industries in Trinidad and Tobago, Stuart Young, highlights Heritage Petroleum Company Limited's role in the legal energy sector and its significance to the national community.
Energy and Energy Industries Minister Stuart Young recently made it a point to differentiate between 2 types of oil companies operating in Trinidad and Tobago.
The difference between an IOC, an independent oil company, and an NOC, a national oil company. And I was thinking and reflecting on my way here how important it is for us as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and in particular the management of Heritage and the board of Heritage, to appreciate that you are NOC, a national oil company.
The minister explained why he was making the distinction between the 2 entities.
because every single barrel of oil, every single molecule of gas belongs to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And an NOC, a national oil company like Heritage, has a much more difficult task than an independent oil company like a Shell and a BP, who are only profit-driven and only looking to deliver the maximum amount of money back to their shareholders.
Minister Young went further.
Finding that balance to provide the payment of royalties, taxes, and even sometimes dividends back to the shareholder of Trinidad and the people of Trinidad and Tobago in the form of the Minister of Finance's corporation sole.
The Energy Minister reminded our national oil company, Heritage Petroleum Company Limited, to be aware of the communities on its fence lines. But Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley cautioned the National Energy Company to be careful.
The danger is that if that becomes the overriding consideration in the national company, the national company could become a burden on the very taxpayer that it was intended to service.
A danger which Chairman of Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited, Michael Kwamina SC, addressed as he outlined a number of TPHL's properties being handed over to a variety of state entities, along with payment of $7.5 billion on Petrotrin's $11.8 billion debt.
We, of course, along with these massive payments, pay very significant taxes to the government for use to meet expenses on a national scale, some $12.6 billion since inception, while at the same time meeting the expenses associated with our core business, that is exploration and production of oil and gas, which is expected to be $2.9 billion for the year 2024.
I am Terrian Brown Campbell, and this is Evolving Energy.
In investment news, Guardian Holdings Limited, GHL, has advised that pursuant to authorization by its board of directors, GHL executed a loan agreement effective March 21, 2024, arranged by Guardian Group Trust Limited for a maximum amount of TT $450 million. The proceeds from this facility will be allocated for general corporate purposes. The total loan amount of up to TT $450 million will be disbursed in 2 tranches.
The first tranche, Tranche A, was disbursed on March 21, 2024 in the sum of TT $382 million at a rate of interest of 5.35% per annum. The second Tranche B is proposed to be disbursed at a later date for a facility of up to TT $68 million or the equivalent denominated in any other currency at a rate of interest of 5.2% per annum. Both Tranche A and Tranche B will mature on June 21, 2029. The security documents for this loan include a debenture and a deed of priority.
In corporate movements, Corporate Jamaica has reported that several corporate executives have made changes to their status in companies.
VM Investments Limited has advised that Mr. Devon Barrett has tendered his resignation as a director effective March 31, 2024. Next, Wigton Wind Farm Limited has advised that Mr. Erlington Barrett, Managing Director of Wigton, will be demitting office effective March 31, 2024. Wigton has further advised that the process of recruiting a new managing director is underway. Interim measures for the continued leadership and operational oversight of the business have been implemented, and Ms. Michelle Chinlen, the current head of energy at Wigton, will serve as acting managing director until the aforementioned recruitment process is completed.
Now for news on movement in the Jamaica Stock Exchange and your credit tip of the day with Denise Williams.
During trading on March 26, 2024, the top 3 advancing stocks covered the distribution, media, and finance sectors on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Paramount Trading Jamaica Limited shares advanced by 23.14% for a 28-cent price increase to close at $1.49 with 91 shares traded. The Limners and Bards Limited shares advanced by 20.81% for a 31-cent upward push in price to close at $1.80 with one share traded. Epley 7.5% shares advanced by 19.09% for a 97-cent jump in price to close at $6.05 with 7 shares traded. On the declining stocks that traders experienced on March 26, 2024, the top 3 losers covered the finance, transportation, and energy sectors. Mayberry Group Limited declined by 11.38% for a 90-cent decrease in price to close at $7.01 with 16,428 shares traded. Knutsford Express Services Limited declined by 7.96% for a 95-cent price slide to close at $10.98 with 472 shares traded. Siboney Group Limited declined by 6.72% for an 8-cent drop in price to close at $1.11 with 230,701 shares traded. Over on the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, on March 26, 2024, it registered a volume of 325,340 shares crossing the floor of the exchange, valued at TT $2,455,315.61. JMB Group Limited was the volume leader with 126,831 shares changing hands for a value of TT $190,254.50, followed by Massey Holdings Limited with a volume of 114,814 shares being traded for TT $499,521.78. On March 26, 2024, the Bank of Jamaica reported that US $13.7 million was bought from Forex traders, while US $26.2 million was sold to Forex traders. Buying directly from the Bank of Jamaica, foreign currency traders sold the US dollar for $154.24 and bought the US dollar for $153.12. The difference between the buy and sell rate was $1.12, which represents a profit for Forex traders for every US dollar traded. Canadian Forex traders earned a trading profit of $3.85 from transactions with the Bank of Jamaica. The Canadian dollar was sold at $116.59 and bought for $112.74. For traders looking at the British pound, they pocketed a profit of $6.24, selling it for $198.15 and buying it for $191.91. For our credit report tip of the day, with high interest rates, you might end up owing more money than you borrowed in the first place. This extra debt can weigh heavily on your credit report and make lenders wary of giving you more credit. Here's what you can do. Work on paying down your balances to lower your overall debt. This not only improves your credit score, but also saves you money on interest in the long run. And with that, we wrap up today's business report. I'm Denise Williams.
In regional news, as Barbados and CARICOM continue their quest for reparations, a leading Caribbean academic has called on the United Nations to support reparative justice as a development paradigm. The call by Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, came as he addressed the UN General Assembly in New York to commemorate the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade.
For their audacity of action, they were punished by the Western world and demonized rather than deified. Driven by France and supported by all of Europe and the United States of America, they were forced to pay blood money in the form of reparations for having defeated their enslavers. Such examples of duplicity and mendacity in our modern world are endless in the bid to end man's inhumanity to man. The Caribbean remains one of the few places in the world where there are still colonies. Many of the islands of the Caribbean are still colonies. Britain has colonies. France has colonies. The Dutch have colonies. Why do we have colonies remaining at this time in our history?
In Trinidad and Tobago, the Ministry of Health is forging a new educational partnership with the People's Republic of China. Terrian Brown Campbell tells us more.
As Trinidad and Tobago battles against one of its most deadly non-communicable diseases, heart disease, the latest donation from the People's Republic of China to the Ministry of Health is a welcomed asset.
Today's donation of 5,000 blood pressure monitoring units is a significant day, not only to further cement the ties between Trinidad and Tobago and China, which you heard is now 50 years old, but it is also a major intervention in the management and control of non-communicable diseases in Trinidad and Tobago.
China's ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago, Fang Chu, said this initiative is just one of many collaborations in the medical sector between these two countries.
Last year, a high-performance blood donation vehicle provided by the Chinese government added to the development of Trinidad and Tobago's voluntary blood donation system. There are countless examples of our successful cooperation in the health sector over the years, and I believe there will be more in the future.
An academic program will follow the donation.
I am looking forward to the commencement of the academic exchange programs in cardiovascular disease, which is to be jointly executed by the Beijing Anzhen Hospital, Capital Medical University of China, and the Ministry of Health, Trinidad and Tobago, under the auspices of the Chinese government.
Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Dr. Amory Brown, who also addressed the handing over ceremony, shared some of the details of the academic program.
And the second element of the project is training for our local healthcare providers in the form of online seminars. And we're very grateful for that key element as well. This project builds both physical and technical capacity and is expected to make a difference in our country's treatment and prevention of cardiovascular diseases and complications.
Minister Brown noted the state-of-the-art heart monitoring devices feature the latest technology, including being able to speak to the user in English. Terrian Brown Campbell, TTT News.
In Guyana, building stronger national systems that can translate to shaping a stronger regional space for Latin America and the Caribbean countries was key among the discussions during the first ever United Caribbean Forum in Georgetown on Tuesday. More in this report.
Building a more integrated region where Latin American and Caribbean countries can pool their unique resources to develop a strong bloc in the global space. But where does that start? It starts with the bilateral relations between member states in the LAC region. Guyana and the Dominican Republic, DR, believes the two countries are well positioned and well placed, potential in integration, energy, tourism, investment, and food security realized. At the first ever United Caribbean Forum in Georgetown on Tuesday, attended by former President Bill Clinton of the United States, regional policymakers and business leaders held discussions on how this will be achieved and become reality in the shortest possible time. Former President of the United States of America, Bill Clinton, reposed full confidence that collectively diverse regional countries can make better decisions for the future of the regional bloc. He said, too, that these countries are in a good position because of their commitment to democracy. And so he thinks he can support Guyana and the Dominican Republic, organizers of the United Caribbean Forum, to develop their national systems that can help to shape a better region. Clinton's model to success is understanding the benefits of cooperation between the public and private sectors with non-governmental organizations.
We should be in the how business. And when somebody asks you your opinion, you always be thinking to yourself, even if no one asks you, how am I going to manifest this opinion? How am I going to achieve this objective? Because a lot of words are spilled in public debate by people who never have to come to terms with whether they did or didn't answer the how question. That's what this is for.
Clinton said the time has come to end discussions on what is to be done and how much will be spent in doing it, and start discussions on how it will get done.
I think your priorities in terms of developing a more sustainable agriculture that will both generate more income and better nutrition and better health, dealing with the challenges of climate change and having a sustainable energy future. These things, if you achieve them in the right way, will cause other people to follow you. And that is important.
Guyana and the Dominican Republic believe the two countries are well on their way to helping to achieve regional integration in energy, tourism, investment, and food security. If enough people see the value in this vision, Dr. Ali believes it will be achieved within the next 5 years.
I believe that if we are to realize the value of the partnership that we are creating, then the results will be speaking for itself long before 5 years from now.
In sports, Jamaica's Reggae Boys will face the Dominican Republic in the second round of the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying campaign on June 6 at the National Stadium. On Tuesday, FIFA reported that the British Virgin Islands joined Group E. The BVI booked their spot in the second round after beating U.S. Virgin Islands 4-2 on penalties following a 0-0 scoreline in regular and extra time in their return leg encounter. The teams had played to a 1-1 draw in the first leg. In addition to Jamaica, the British Virgin Islands also joined Guatemala, Dominica, and the Dominican Republic as the other teams in Group E. The Cricket West Indies Rising Stars Regional Under-15 Championship bowled off on Tuesday at venues across Antigua.
At the Bethesda Sports Ground, TNT Under-15s came up against the Windward Islands Under-15s, and unfortunately, rain had the final say. The TNT bowlers did well until the showers came down, keeping the Windwards to 83 for 4 in 17.2 overs. Ganesh Gobin was spot on, taking 2 wickets for 12 runs, while Aidan Owen supported with 2 for 22. TNT next face Guyana on Thursday at the Coolidge Cricket Ground, also in Antigua. Meanwhile, the Jamaica women completed the double yesterday when they were crowned champions of the Cricket West Indies T20 Blaze. Prior to the start of the tournament, they were also crowned champions of the CG United Regional Super 50 Cup. At the close of the T20 Blaze, Rashada Williams had the most runs with 183, while Plafiana Millington had most wickets with 11. Steffi Sugrim was the only local player in the top 5 with 7 wickets. Most wicketkeeper dismissals went to Shimin Campbell with 6, and Amanda Edwards had most catches with 5.
And that's it for the news on PBCJ. Remember, you can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thank you so much for watching.